For your hand of mercy to heal me. I am weak. I need your love to fill me. Oh Lord, my rock, my strength in weakness can rescue me. Oh Lord. Today we are at a studio in Morgan Hill. This is Paul Joe. I'm your host. Every week we bring you exciting things. I'm very excited today because not only did I drive out here in Morgan Hill, the beautiful, beautiful Bay Area city, but we are at the house of Mr. Brian
Gibbs.
Mr. Brian Gibbs. He is a record producer, music producer here in the Bay Area. He's been here for about 9 years. I'm going to learn a thing or two today. I'm sure you will too. So I'm very excited, and we kind of welcome Mr. Brian Gibbs today. All right, so Brian, my goodness, this is nice. This is really nice guitar here. You got a lot of them, right?
What's
your favorite guitar here?
I think there's 29 guitars here.
29 guitars?
Not in this room, but just in total. Yeah.
How long have you been collecting guitars?
35 years.
Wow, and so you started when you were about 10 years old?
I was born with a guitar.
Oh, you were born with a guitar. Your mom gave birth to you. Oh my goodness, I gotta give birth to a musician. Good. I love guitars and stuff like that. This is so great. And then you have a studio, a mixer here.
Yeah. So there's there's 4 mixing rooms and 2 studios here. Mm-hmm. So there's 3,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. Just shy of 3,000 square feet of studio space, and the way we define it is it's a residential studio. Mm-hmm. So people come, stay at the studio, they live here, they work on their project. The longest we ever had somebody here was 3.5 months. Mm-hmm. But they were still an active group, so they would be touring. Some days they were here 3 or 4 or 5 days a week. Mm. Sometimes they'd be here for a week straight. It all depended on what their schedule was. Mm. But the idea is to be able to work in a central location, cook here, sleep here, eat here, work here, and be able to separate it into different rooms. So maybe working in this room on one song or working out some parts, and then they're working with drum parts on another song in one of the other studios. That is kind of the larger scope of what we do. On a day-to-day, people hire me to produce their records, produce songs for them. Sometimes it's just a single record, sometimes it's a full album of records. But a lot of what gets released now is 1, 2, or 3 songs, a single, with extras, B-sides, or you'll have an EP, 4 to 6 songs. Once in a while, we'll do 7 or more, which is considered an album, or LP or ELP. So that is what I spend the majority of my day doing, is helping people. They come, they write a song, they come with their guitar, or the grand piano, Steinway in the other room, and then they play me their song.
Wow.
And then I sit there and I listen and I say, "Oh, it's terrible." No, I ask them questions about it.
Right.
Is that the right tempo? Is that the right key? Are you the one that's going to sing it? Are you the one that's going to? What's going to be your role? Many times people come in and they want to be the songwriter, and I talk to them and I say, well, there's a lot of people in the music industry that make really good money, and all they do is write music. A lot of people started that way. There's a lot of very famous musicians that we know started as songwriters. They did not intend on being a rock star or anything like that, in whatever genre, not just rock, country, jazz, whatever. But they found that they were really good writers. So then they wind up writing for other people. In worship music, this happens a lot. There's a whole record label out of Nashville that writes music, and lots of the churches use it. All these songwriters work, and they make a decent living just writing music. So sometimes most everybody who comes in, they want to be a rock star. They want to be the next, Taylor Swift or
Justin Bieber,
or Justin Bieber or Beyonce or Cardi B or Jay-Z, whoever it might be. But then they start to understand the process and how much work it is and how detail oriented it can be and how you can spend days on just getting the drum sound right or finding the right drummer. I'm working with someone now who's classically trained, but he likes to write rock music, and we've been looking for the right vocalist for 4 months. I mean, we've been going to websites and YouTube and websites where people put their demos up and hire themselves out, and it is amazing. There are a lot of really, really great singers. American Idol, The Voice, this is all, you see this all the time, where they're really, really great singers, but they're not exceptional singers. That's really hard to find, a very unique voice that fits exactly the music, that fits exactly what the songwriter is trying to convey. And when that happens, it's magic. And those are all the artists that we know. Then there's some that are, not only are they great performers and vocalists, but they're also great songwriters. That's even more rare, like an Ed Sheeran or a Taylor Swift, like we were mentioning before. So people don't realize how many magical things have to line up for it to happen, that you can write amazing songs, work with the right people, have people that want to work with you, because sometimes there's people you don't really want to work with, because for whatever reason, and also be a great performer, a skilled musician. There's a lot to it. So what I spend my day doing is helping people understand that and finding out what the best vehicle is for their song. They've written a song, it's their baby, they're very passionate about it, very sensitive to it. They come in, they're exposing. I give the analogy to people. Remember when you had to get up in English class in school and read in front of everybody and write a poem, read your poem to everybody, and like how nervous you were? Well, that's how people are all the time. They come in and perform for me, and they're playing their song, and they're waiting for my reaction. But I typically, I'm thinking when I'm hearing somebody play me their song for the first time, am I hearing strings? Am I hearing electric guitars? Am I hearing... So in my head, I'm already thinking about, I think the key should be different, maybe it should be slower, faster, all of those things. So that's why I say I'm a record producer.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at this picture.
Right.
And then it's all of the details. So the record label and publishing company part of it is, well, what's the budget? Who's financing this? Are we going to hire musicians to plan this? Are we going to spend time programming everything? Are we going to hire somebody to program everything? So for me, having a contact list of electronic music producers in lots of different genres, having a long list of drummers and guitar players and bass players. So even though I play guitar and play bass, and I can lock down a beat on drums, I'm not primarily a drummer. I'm not primarily a bass player. My principal instrument's guitar. But while I'm sitting here moving buttons and pressing things, I don't want to also be playing guitar, pressing buttons. So that's why it's good for me to bring in musicians or horn players or string players and find the right players for the right... it's a complicated business.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for elaborating quite a bit, because... I have other questions to ask you. I mean, nowadays you have electronic music, but now this is still very traditional?
Well, this is all analog.
Yes.
But everything eventually winds up, what they say, in the box. So, like this.
So you're okay.
This session I've got, I think it's like 70.
So that's all digital.
70
there.
tracks.
Okay.
But a lot of it went through the console before it wound up in the box. Some of it's only electronic. Some of it came from electronic instruments using keyboards like this to create these sounds. But then, we'll see the other studio where we record a lot of vocals, but we'll pick up a guitar. So not everything is programmed, and not everything is exactly what they say on the grid.
Right.
So when you're looking at everything is divided. You can move every note so it's perfectly in time. I don't know. Sometimes it takes the life out of it.
So there's still people want to really touch the hardware, you know, and
So
because it's so, play the instrument rather than having to program stuff. Interesting. Okay, so the next one is let's say, I'm a vocalist or I'm passionate about music and I live here in San Jose or Morgan Hill or Gilroy, and I'm looking for someone to really take my song and put it on YouTube or put it somewhere. I mean, Spotify and all that kind of stuff. So they can come to you and say, man, I got this idea, and then you would actually bring the idea to life and make it, you know, modern, make it acceptable to the audience.
Right, to bring it to like a professional level. And it really depends again on what their budget is. And there's so many different formats. So we had somebody just press vinyl a few months back. So they brought us a copy of their vinyl album. And we've had probably 3 or 4 vinyl projects in the past few years. Most everything winds up on Apple Music or Spotify or Tidal, Amazon Music. So if you want vinyl, you want cassette, you want CD, you want streaming, and now a big conversation is immersive. So music that has height to it and or 360 or immersive. They're 2 different formats, but we don't have time to go into all of that. But you hear Dolby Atmos, you hear Sony 360, you hear these formats. We can get your music released in any format that you want. And so my job as a mixing engineer is to really understand how those formats work. As a record producer, kind of need to know. So if I change my hat, as a record producer, I need to hire the right engineer that understands it, right? So I'm not always the engineer. It depends on what the project is. So we may go hire another engineer so I can sit back and I can look at everything like this while the engineer is sitting here pressing the buttons and fixing things and wrestling with the computer while I'm thinking about, you know, notes and horn arrangements and listening to the performances. It's 2 different parts of the brain. Engineer and record producer are 2 different parts.
Say someone had a CD, they produce a CD like Ken was saying earlier, okay, so they can bring a CD to you and you can embellish that song.
Yeah,
or
a lot of people. Actually, I had somebody I just got that call yesterday or today. I think it was earlier today. And I need to call back, and that's what they said. They had all this music on a CD, and they want to figure out how to bring that back to life. They like the way this music sounds, but there's already a vocal in it. So now we got to figure out, and there is some software where you can extract the vocals and other techniques, but a lot of times you wind up having to recreate the music. So, if they've had something that they've done in the past, typically we wind up just doing it all again from scratch.
So in that case, you have to hire musicians too, okay? Also have to think about, okay, that song, like you were saying before, that song, or, okay, what kind of instruments will go with that song, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, like drummers, for example, there's probably 20 drummers off the top of my head I could think of, but there's certain drummers I would hire for certain projects. So depending on what the music is or what the song is will drive who I call. So I don't call the same drummer for every session because even though they're all really good drummers, they all have their little technique and their style and their sound and the way they play, the way they treat the song. So we would hire different players based on what I say a lot is does it serve the song? So depending on what the song is drives what guitar player, what drummer, what bass player.
There's a local musician, a local aspiring musician, and she wants to be very well known on YouTube. How do you monetize them? How do you help them?
That's a long conversation.
Okay.
But there are ways to do that. It's a ton of work. People think, well, I'm just going to put a video up and it's going to go viral, and then I sit here and shake my head. Probably not. And the reason I say probably not, because statistically, probably not. there are the president of the RIAA, Record Industry Association of America. That's who certifies gold and platinum albums. He was quoted just a few months back. There are 60,000 songs a day released to Spotify, Apple Music. How are you going to get your song heard when 60,000 other songs got released? There has to be a marketing plan. There has to be a strategy around. Is there a look? Is there something about the colors palette that you use? And that's not me. I'm not good with that stuff. That's where I go to my phone and say, okay, let's talk to photographers, videographers, stylists, those sort of things, and then that's more the record company kind of business part of it, and that's why it's so challenging to think about if you want to take on an artist or not, because you have to have this whole other piece of it. Yes, it's about the music, but you have to have something that's going to jump out for people. It could be great music and never get heard.
Interesting.
60,000 others.
So on average, to get that music heard, what could be the budget?
I drive up 880 and I see a billboard for the new Katy Perry album.
Right.
Well, Katy Perry doesn't live in San Jose,
right.
But the record company bought a billboard
right.
on 880
yes.
at Brokaw. So I'm driving, new Katy Perry album.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in San Jose and you want to be seen, are you buying a billboard? There was another time the Taylor Swift's album came out. This is 3 or 4 years ago. We were working on a project. Somebody ordered something from Amazon. And this Amazon box shows up. It's got Taylor Swift all over it. We didn't realize it was an Amazon box. It was like, who ordered this Taylor Swift box? Like, nobody ordered it, but it had somebody's name on it. It was a producer who was working here. And he opened it. It was his Amazon box. But they had made a deal with Amazon to put her album artwork all over these boxes.
Right.
Well,
money went into
who
that.
doesn't know who Taylor Swift is?
Right.
Who doesn't know who Katy Perry is? And they're putting their names on Amazon boxes and buying billboards.
Right. Yes.
They have to do that. And they already are established. What are you doing to get found?
Right.
So
So let me ask you a question there. Okay. Okay. So let me ask, so who is your audience or who is your client?
The genres are all over the place, from Latin albums. It was a Latin album, won a Grammy. That's 5 years ago now. I produced a record for a Nashville artist. It was a single. Alternative rock, country, or I could say country, alternative, hard rock, metal, acoustic. Not new age, well, kind of the new age rock kind of blend. New age typically is more meditative music. Doesn't always have lyrics. Sometimes has vocalization, but some music that's on the edge of that, and jazz. So most recent release that we had out of here was in Dolby Atmos. It was immersive, and it was a 5 record jazz EP. And it was meant to be like you're sitting in a club listening. So you're listening on like this. It's November. Black Friday is around the corner. There's going to be all kinds of Dolby Atmos and immersive sound bars. And the reason for that is Apple TV and HBO and Disney and Hulu and Netflix want people to sit at home and listen on the theater. Pandemic changed a lot of things. You can now get a movie that you could go to the theater and pay $30, or you can stay home and pay $30. So which one do you want? Some people don't feel comfortable going to theater. You can have the movie today, but on top of your subscription, you also pay $30 to get the movie. So it's an interesting model, but because these companies want people to listen to music or listen to movies, the music industry is benefiting because we get to send our music through those same immersive spatial audio systems. So people can pull up their TV and they can pull up Apple Music or Tidal or Amazon HD and play their music on these devices that send the music all around the room. And to me, it's wonderful because I'm actually sitting listening to albums again. I will listen to song after song after song, as opposed to just, let me just put on a song and, I'll actually sit down and listen to music again, which has been wonderful because I haven't done that.
So do you now have local clients?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, we have clients that come from Nashville and New York and Los Angeles, but we also have people that just come in for the day. We just booked a session for a band out of San Jose. They're going to come in for 2 full days. They're not going to stay here, so the rate is a little different. They're going to come in. We'll start at noon. We'll work till 8 in the evening. They're going to come the next day. We start at noon, work to 8, and we're just going to record as much as we can. So in that instance, I'm not really the record producer, but I will bring in an assistant engineer. I'm just the recording engineer. I may wind up mixing it. I don't know. We haven't got to that point yet. But as of right now, they're just coming in the studio 2 full days. They're here. Nobody else is coming in, and they're going to just record. But they're not going to stay at the studio.
So staying, you're talking about this is the Airbnb equivalent for musicians. So somebody can come here from LA and from anywhere.
Right, yeah, they come from anywhere in the world, right? That's the other part of it where they pay a flat fee and they can just live here. That's the residential studio part of it. And if they want to pay additional, we can hire a chef to come in and cook for them, and somebody's gluten-free, vegan, whatever, so we can accommodate whatever they're looking for, and they can be isolated, work out on their album, and just stay on the property.
So you're offering free service, right? I mean, full service. That's what you're offering. Full service.
Full service. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's great. And you started this thing like 9 years ago, right?
Right.
Why Morgan Hill?
I was in Boston, and I had another job at the time and relocated me to Silicon Valley. I do have family here. I lived here when I was younger, and so I came back to Silicon Valley. And the areas right on the edge of San Jose were 27 minutes from the airport. It's a great setup. We've had musicians come up for the day from LA, fly out of Burbank at 8 o'clock in the morning. They're here before 10. They work until 8 in the evening, and they're home and they're sleeping in their bed back in Los Angeles the same day.
Really? Okay. So why would they move from Burbank and from LA to here? Is that an advantage over? I mean,
there's 2 reasons that happens. One, they need to go somewhere that their friends aren't going to come and hang out and bother them and slow them down. That's the main reason people go somewhere else. So Nashville people like to go to LA. LA people go to New York. New York people go to San Francisco because they need to focus on serious musicians. They want to focus, and friends are hanging out, slowing things down. Families coming by. No, I need to get this project done. The second reason is they might be hired to come up. So we may hire a drummer or a cellist or a guitar player, and they fly up with their instrument. We work for the day, put them on a plane, send them back home. So they might come up just for a day because they were hired for that session.
You've been doing this for 9 years. What has been your highlight?
Probably the album 5 years ago that won a Grammy. That was great. But I'd say there's been a few along the way that have been really great learning opportunities. And in the pandemic, we've been able to work with people all over the world and work with people at a really high level, just because we've pivoted and figured out how can we work remotely. Well, we can work remotely by using technology that not everybody's aware of. So we were kind of early adopting into technology where we can use high resolution audio, be anywhere in the world. So it's been a pretty wonderful.
So let's talk about that. So you're saying somebody can be in France and you can produce your music here. How is that?
So it would be like they're on the other side of the glass. But the latency, without getting too technical, is about 10 milliseconds per 1,000 miles. So France is about 7,000 miles away. So it would take about 70 milliseconds for the audio if we had a really good connection. There's other factors involved, but 70 to 80 milliseconds for the audio to get to France. But it would be really high quality, like really high resolution audio. So they would be hearing it on their speakers or on their headphones, but they would be hearing it as if it's coming right out of this mixing console in France.
So how is that gonna work? I mean, say they're a vocalist in France and you're producing here. Do they still have to have the same kind of acoustics in the room over there?
Typically, I have had people record, like we did a vocal out of Nashville, and they recorded the vocal in their little studio. And it worked okay. We used it for quite a while as we were producing the record. And then when it came down to the final, they flew here, and we cut all the final vocals here. Other times we've done it where we get a studio where they are, and then instead of me sending the music that way, they send it, and I'm listening here. So I'm sitting listening, and then they'll do the performance, and then I'll stop and I'll say, okay, we need to go back and change this, or the way you sang that, or the pitch was off, or the timing wasn't right, or the emotion wasn't quite there. So so I produce it from here, but they're in a studio in France.
Interesting. And so, okay, now everything is trending towards video as well. So, do you work with videographers?
Yeah, we have a list of videographers. We just had somebody come in and record. They were doing a operatic rock or symphonic rock production, and they wanted to record the singer. So I helped them find a videographer in the area. They came and set up lighting and did all kinds of shots with a mobile camera, some still cams, and they haven't edited that yet. That was just a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, we will do that. Again, it's all scalable, right? From just working on one little song, got a budget of $500. Okay, well, here's what we can do for $500. Okay, we got to do one song, we have $5,000. Okay, well, then this is available to us. So it really all depends on what their budget is. So we work with anybody we can. We also work with other local studios too that might charge a different rate and say, okay, can they come into you, work on this, and then send them back over here, and we'll take care of that. So we try to be as flexible as we can, because we understand it's tough to find enough financing for.
Yeah, okay, we learned quite a lot today, as I promised you at the beginning. So we're gonna tour this place. It's a house, right, that has been converted into a studio, right? So it's like soundproof and all that stuff. It's amazing, besides the guitars. So let's go. Thanks for watching. If you know of any small business owners who would like to take advantage of our lively interviews, please ask them to contact us at service@allaboutthebay.org. And remember to subscribe to our channel as we post new interviews there weekly.